Meet PitchDB, the ultimate platform for speakers looking to make their mark on podcasts, conferences, and media outlets. PitchDB provides access to over 3 million platforms, ensuring you find the perfect avenue for your message. With AI integrations, your bios and pitches are tailored uniquely to each opportunity, giving you the edge you need. Join now at pitchdb.com.
Welcome to Your Brand Amplified, the podcast where we interview marketers, publicists, and brands to learn their stories, what makes them tick, and tips and tricks that make a difference. I'm so thrilled today to have Shannon Boyer all the way from Edmonton, which I've actually been to, which is a surprise to most people because not a lot of people, I think, who don't know Edmonton in Canada have been there. Shannon, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to talk about this topic.
I am too. And we're going to talk about content creation. But first, I want to talk about your background as an educator and how you came to find a purpose and a mission in helping other people create better course content. Because I know that's something, if you're in business, if you're an entrepreneur at one point or another, you're probably going to think about creating a course. So yes. I feel like we're going to get a lot of wisdom from you today.
I hope so. Yeah. So like most people, my career has taken kind of a convoluted path of, different twists and turns that some I expected, some I didn't. So the first unexpected turn landed me teaching in a college here in Edmonton. That wasn't my intention, and that's kind of a long story, so I won't go there just yet. But yes. I had become a teacher, left teaching, as so many new teachers do. And I was working in a nonprofit with New Canadians, so mostly refugees and young people. And there was a gap in the education system. And so I went to the college and I went to the funders in the government and I said, you need to do something. There's a problem. Like, we need a program for these young people. Long story short, they created a program, or the government decided to fund a program. And they asked me if I would come in, create it, and teach it. So I got back into teaching and, worked in this program and eventually won an award for the program that we created. But I realized in working with those students, but also other students who were struggling to make the transition from secondary to post-secondary, that there was kind of a lot more to this teaching and learning thing than I had been taught in my undergrad degree. So I went back to a university and I got my master's in education and came back to the college. Well, I never left the college, but continued working at the college, got into administration, started working with curriculum development, more course development, mentoring other teachers and things like that. And I loved it. I absolutely loved the job, working with other instructors and the students and all of that. And then I had 2 kids in my 40s during COVID. Okay. And I think both of those things are kind of major life changers for people. and they happened at the same time for me. And due to low enrollment, the college put out like a call if anyone was interested in taking a voluntary buyout. And of course, they were targeting people a little bit older than I was, but it was just a perfect time in my life to kind of grab a hold of that opportunity, a year's pay to stay home with my kids, look at other opportunities for myself. And before this had happened, I had already started kind of going online, taking some online courses, looking at like the whole side hustle idea that so many new moms get into, I think, as we look for ways to, have more time with our kids and things like that. And I realized that there were a lot of people with expertise who were creating online courses, but didn't necessarily have the education background to know how to do it in a way that would make the most sense to their students, help their students get the best results in the most efficient way, and just be very pedagogically sound, which basically means, built on a basis of the science and theory of education. Mm-hmm. So I started kind of got my wheels turning. And I also saw that there were a lot of people out there who were teaching how to create an online course with marketing backgrounds, right? Not education backgrounds, or people who had kind of risen to some sort of stardom really during COVID. Boom. When everyone was sitting at home, had nothing else to do, really were consuming courses either for entertainment's sake or because, they were looking at a way to pivot and maybe do a different jobs. Like a lot of people were, it was the heyday of online education, really. And so a lot of people were making money on courses that didn't necessarily have the credentials behind them. And now some of those people are saying, this is how I made all of my money do the same thing and you can make a lot of money in the same way. But the situation, the landscape is completely different now. And what worked then is not working now. I said I was going to make a long story short, and I'm not.
No, but this is fantastic. I have a marketing background, marketing, PR, brand strategy, comms, but I'm also a professor. And so I love that you're making this connection that it's not the same thing. And I also have created online courses and I've seen the need for things, but I've also seen that because of my background, I teach very differently than a lot of the professors who might just be in academia, or they might have been at the same agency for a very long time. And so they're teaching marketing or PR or branding in a certain specific way where I'm trying to be more agile because I'm actually doing it every day. I also work with workforce development and adult education. So I'm very familiar with the sectors that you started in too. So I'm like, I love this. We can go in so many different ways.
Yeah. Well, and I think you make an important point too, because it's like, I don't consider myself an academic, and you can't teach the way that you would teach somebody who's in post-secondary education, very academic course, and then do the exact same thing in this online entrepreneurial space where, the big topics are really like health, wealth, relationships, and personal development, which includes hobbies and things like that. And so when you're targeting people who are doing this out of personal interest or personal development and not to get a degree or an academic credential, there's a whole other way of going about it and a whole different set of motivations that people have. So it's interesting because you do have to take everything and adapt it for the space and for the audience and, for the purpose that people have coming to your course. That will be different for everybody.
Yeah. Wow. So you realized there was a hole in the market that people were teaching, but they really didn't understand the right way. And I will say, I buy a lot of courses. I think a lot of us do, right? Because you see, maybe this is something I should try. I want to see how they teach things.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, frankly, aren't very good. And I'm like, okay, I got this nugget out of this, but I'm not going to continue going through the material. Or you just pick out what you need when really, when somebody creates a course, they hopefully want you to go through and complete the entire course, not just cherry pick, right? But to do that, I'm sure there are so many techniques and ways to engage audiences and make sure that they're doing that. And that's where you come in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. One of the things I talk about is when my Instagram is just full of ads for how to create courses and, and what I always see are the claims of I had a 5-figure weekend and a 6-figure launch and a 7-figure this, and it's all focused on the sales. And again, because the people who are teaching these courses are predominantly marketers. And so while you do have to have a good course to be successful long term, those metrics are really talking about how successful the marketing was and how good the marketing was.
Right.
For long-term success as an online course creator, your course does have to be a high-quality course that gets people results, that people finish, that gets people results, because then they are going to talk about your course and talk about it positively. They're going to rate you testimonials and provide that social proof. They're going to become amazing affiliates that are going to go and sell your course to their audiences. And they're going to become really loyal customers who are coming back and wanting to purchase from you again and again. So if your course is going to be sustainable, scalable, and have that longevity, it really does have to be a high quality course that delivers on the promise. And what you're talking about in those courses that we have both taken are heavy on the marketing, heavy on the hype and the transformation and what people are going to get out of it, which you need to sell, which you can't, it doesn't matter how good the course is. If you can't sell it, it's worthless. So you need that. But then on the back end, you also have to have that. So what I teach are high touch, high quality, high impact courses. So the high impact is the end result. The student is going to finish the course, which is one of the metrics that I like to look at as opposed to how many people bought the course, how many people finished the course. So the high impact, then people are finishing the course, they are implementing it in their lives, and they're achieving that transformation that you promised in your marketing. So that's what we want is an end result. high quality goes to the actual curriculum of your course, how you're designing it, how you're putting it together, how you're doing your videos, how long your videos are, how you're structuring your lessons. That's kind of like where I talk about the pedagogy and the theory and science of teaching and learning. So that's the quality of your course. And then high touch are the student interactions that happen within your course. So I love to talk about the high touch because, again, I feel like a lot of the marketing is about sit on the beach, watch the money roll into your bank account, create this passive income. And I'm sure that you and I both know that there's nothing passive about education, especially when it's high quality education. It is very active. And so the interactions that the students have in your course are so, so important. So back in the 80s, Michael G. Moore, in the days of correspondence, he started talking about 3 kinds of learner interactions. So it's learner to content, learner to learner, and learner to instructor. And I think they're even more important today in this online space that we're at and with AI and everything else. And there's even a 4th one that I like to talk about, which is learner to industry interactions. Yeah. And I think it's important that you have to look at your course and determine what do your students need, which of those interactions and in what kind of combination is it going to help your students achieve those outcomes that you're hoping to help them achieve.
So this is very interesting to me because I see so many courses that people create. Like when I was moving back to LA from Houston and leaving a business that was very different in Houston, I had a social club and a retail store. And then when I moved back to LA, I was like, I think I just want to go back into comms, PR, but I need to know what's going on now. So I bought some courses and joined some groups. And the courses were okay. And I learned more probably from my colleagues in the different groups, right? Learned some great things and like, okay, here's some templates I can use, and here's some resources, but then I had to do my own research. But I think that is one of the things that you're saying, because yes, I bought this course, but the group and being able to talk to other people gave me even more insight, more value than just the course itself. But I see a lot of people who are selling a course for even thousands of dollars and saying you can't get more of my expertise one-on-one or one-to-many in coaching unless you pay 100,000 times this price.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely something I want to unpack a little bit because I think that's something also we wrestle with as if you have an agency and you're trying to create a course and you are a mom and you're trying to do all these things, how much is your time worth and how much time can you pour in? And then I guess that goes to like, well, then what are your motivators really? Is it to really help educate people? Is it just the money? So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your perspective on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a great question. And you've touched on so many important points already. I think that there's so many things that go into it. So first off, when you're starting out, I feel like adding in more of yourself and more of those, so student to instructor and student to student interactions is not only going to help your students achieve those goals and get great value out of your course, but it's really going to help to differentiate you and help your course stand out in the market of people who are trying to do less and less and charge more and more. So it is a great way to set yourself apart or offer that unique value proposition for your course when you're trying to get your name known and build your business and everything like that. Of course, I believe in, having those to as much extent as you can as you continue to grow, but it is definitely a good way to differentiate yourself and set yourself apart in what is really a pretty noisy marketplace. There are a lot of pressures on us. So like you said, you may have a full-time job or running an agency or, having clients and being a mom. I've got 2 little kids, like I said, and it is definitely a pressure. So you do need to look at ways that you can do it that are going to provide value to your students while still honoring your time and then taking into consideration what you're going to charge for it as well. So the natural progression of your business is that you can begin to start charging more and more for that one-on-one or one-to-many interaction with you. So you want to put it there as much as you can to set yourself apart. And then you can start to charge more as your business grows. The unfortunate thing is that I've seen the big gurus, as they have done that and as they have grown, it then becomes a struggle to continue to provide that same value to your students as you're, getting $2,000 to $3,000 people into your course? And then how does that scale? So you do, when you get to that level, really need to look at it strategically. And so people often bring in experts. I think that like there's better ways to do it and ways that are kind of less effective to do it. But ultimately, I think it comes down to those questions that you ask, which is like, what are your goals? What is the mission of your business? And what is it that you're trying to do? And is your goal to make as much money as possible and have as much free time as possible? Then you're probably not going to come to me. You're probably not going to be a client of mine. Not that I'm like, throwing shade at like, there's, if those are your goals, that's okay. But the people who work with me and who want to create these like high touch, high quality courses really are looking to help other people, to serve other people, to really truly be educators in what it means to be an educator. And then also like, make money doing it. Like, it is, I think, reasonable to expect to make a pretty good wage income by doing this. So I kind of work in what I think is really like that awesome middle ground where you can really have such an impact on people's lives and be involved in it, but not 8 hours a day, and have a great impact, have a great income, and really reap those personal rewards. Because quite honestly, I think the people who are waking up on the beach every day are looking for meaning in their lives. And, we know that there's a lot that comes from waking up in the morning with a purpose, helping people, and, having your impact in the world. And so those are like the clients that I typically work with.
Yeah. And before we jumped on, you talked about not really liking social media. And, we're talking about your education background and being an award winner for the curriculums that you've created and how you approach that versus all the marketing content we see on social media telling us how people can make so much money off of building courses. And like you said, it's the sales and marketing aspect, not necessarily the content aspect. So how did you market? How did you get clients who were like, oh, I want to work with you so that you can help me really create an intentional course?
Yeah, that is a great question. So I recently hired a business strategist, and it is a conversation that we have on a regular basis because I do want to be, so aligned with my brand and my business and making sure that I'm practicing what I preach. At the same time, I need to support my family. So it's important that I grow. So up until this point, a lot of my traffic has been word of mouth. I've had people who've taken courses that I've helped to design, like, so from clients of mine, and then they see that course and they're like, oh, I want to work with her because I've seen what she can do through that course. So I've had that as a podcast guesting has been a great thing because I feel like that's a way that I can just really like honestly talk about what it is I do and who it is I serve. So this has been a huge avenue for me. I'm lucky to have some past clients who just really promote me because they believe in what I'm doing so much. And then also I host on Wednesdays, I host a sip and share. Oh. So it's a free 45-minute just networking get-together session for online course creators. Anybody can come. Wow. And we just talk about like issues that we're having, questions that we're having, all of things that relate to course creation. So that's a really great way for people to kind of come into my world and get to know me and access me and find out more that way. But I'm not going to lie, like it is slow growth that way, but it has been good growth. And I think it goes to show like you don't have to have 100,000 people on your email list, 100,000 people of like freebie seekers or, people who are there after you've gone viral or whatever, having a smaller list that's really your ideal customer is kind of what I'm after at this point anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that because you can really tell that you're super passionate, but also intentional. And honestly, it's probably been better that the growth has been slower because you had 2 children during the pandemic and you have small children. I have an older daughter, so she's, a couple years away from leaving the house. So it's a little bit different circumstance for me, but I'm still also looking at how do I build intentional things that I know will add value and help people in their journeys that make me money, but I'm not just charging crazy amounts because that's my goal, right? And I think that you're the kind of person who, like, that's the kind of people I find come to my podcast are people who are very intentional and authentic and really want to do something that's going to put some good into the world and help. Very purpose-driven, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. Authentic, purpose-driven, like everything you've just said, that is like 100% me. And my kids only have gone back to daycare just like 6-7 months ago. Yeah. So not that long ago, that I've been very kind of like 100% into growing my business. So, that's kind of where I'm at now and just starting to really take off. So I was working primarily with one-on-one clients, which I love. And now I'm running an intensive program. And then in the fall of 2024, I'll be launching like more of a traditional, so 6 modules with 12 weeks of support. So course.
Yeah.
So that's like the next steps for me. And so then that's where I'm expecting to see that kind of growth that I can do. That's not I will continue to do one-on-one, but I'm just getting to that point now of growing my business in that way.
Are most of the people come to you people who have an idea, they want to create a course, but they haven't started yet? Or is it people who created something, but they haven't gotten the results that they want? Or is it a combination?
Yeah. So I do have 2 ideal kind of customers and then like different products for each. So I do have students who come to me and they're like, I want to create a course. I have a vague notion, or they've taken another course on how to create a course and they're aware enough to know that they don't have all of the pieces. So they've got the how to build an audience. They've got some templates for PowerPoint or whatever, but then they sit down to put that content in and they're kind of like, there's more to this. Like they know there's more to it. So then they come to me. And then on the other side, I have clients who are very successful. They run multiple 6-figure businesses, even on the way to 7 figures. And they have these courses and every course goes through a life cycle. And I think that's something that doesn't get talked about either because it's this set it and forget it mentality. Right. And so some people think like, okay, I've got this course. But then after a while, what happens is the course starts to get very kind of like nebulous because people start listening to feedback that they've gotten and, students say, can you add this? This was confusing. What about this? And, can you do this? Yeah, sure. I can do that. No problem. I'll add that in. And pretty soon it's like, this like amorphous kind of course that lacks the focus that it did initially, which is also part of the natural progression. You create a course thinking this is going to be your audience, and then your audience changes and morphs. And so what happens at that point, and if somebody's running it like once or twice a year, usually it's about the 3-year mark, 2 to 3 years, where it kind of gets to that point where the course creator goes like, I need to redo this. Now I'm getting questions and complaints about where do you find this? The organization isn't clear anymore. And so then people have done the best that they can. And now they want to come to me and I just help them do a complete overall. And sometimes it's starting from the beginning again and okay, who is the ideal student for this course? What are your intentions? What is it that they're going to, be able to do by the end of it? And then we rework it from there. So I think that's really kind of the misconception that I want to help dispel is that if you come to me for help with your course, it doesn't mean your course is bad. No. And I think sometimes people have that feeling and, it's very vulnerable to open up the doors to your baby. You've poured your heart into it, right? And so I try to be very gentle with that. But you're not coming because your course is bad. You're coming because you realize that to go to the next level, to have a course that is the quality of your brand, as your brand is starting to really, become high quality and popular, you want your course to have a quality that matches that. And so people who are aware enough to understand that know that they need to get an expert to come in and help them, kind of go to that next level. So I really want to, dispel that myth that if you're, getting help with your course, it's because it's bad. It's really just because you are aware enough to recognize that you've taken it to as high as you can. And now it's time to get some external help to take it to the next level. Yeah. But the other thing I want to say really, really quickly is that my new clients, the people who don't have a course yet. So a lot of people out there will say, pre-sell your course. Have a vague notion of what the course is, pre-sell it to get some money in, make sure that people are going to buy it and it's something that's going to be of interest before you invest your time into creating it. What I found is that the people who usually come to me are not comfortable with that idea because they are just so afraid of not being able to deliver, of having to go back to people and saying sorry, can't do it. Life happens, they get sick. They just have this personal desire to make sure that they're able to fulfill on a promise. And so what I do is take them through a process of defining the mission, vision, and values of their business, going through a course filter for figuring out what a topic is that might be potentially profitable. I teach them how to do a needs assessment with their potential students, how to do a market analysis to figure out if that, there's a good potential for the course to be profitable and viable. And then they create a mini course. So they're not investing a huge amount of time to create like that signature course, but they create a mini course to then go out and test the waters and see if people are willing to put their money where their mouth is. And I find that that's a really nice process for people to be able to kind of get the best of both worlds, where they're not spending 3 years creating this course they don't know if anybody's going to buy, but they're also like very confident in knowing that they have a high quality something to present to their audience.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hear so many things about this, like, what is in just the sales funnel in general, whether it's a course or some other kind of product. And I guess usually it does go back to a course, right? Or a service offering. And you have the low ticket offer. Some people really believe in that. You get people in with a freebie or a mini course or something like that. And then you ramp them up and scale them. Okay. And some people think that's a great methodology. Other people say, no, don't do that. Just go right to your high ticket offer. So I love what you're saying about it's really not just about scaling them up. It's about building their trust and showing them that you're actually going to deliver and be helpful. So, But again, that's a differentiation between someone that's really looking at it just as a marketing tool and technique and this authenticity that we're talking about. And I noticed that some of the courses that you help people with are things about hobbies, right? Like quilting and things like that. So I'd love to hear, what is the range of clients that you work with?
Yeah. So it is a big range. And to your first point, I think that, like all of the different strategies of like, do this, do that. The problem with that, I think, is people are trying to sell a like one size fits all. This worked for me. You should do the same thing. This worked for me. You should do the same thing. And I think we really need to look at ourselves and what our values are, who we are as business owners, what kind of business we're trying to build, and who our audience is. Yeah. And especially for people who have a very small audience where that trust factor is so huge and you don't want to burn that trust. You don't want to, take advantage or sell something that you're not able to deliver on. So especially when you're starting out and maybe have a smaller audience, I think you really want to nurture them in that way. But yeah, in terms of like my clientele, so it's true. I have a lot of people in the creative space. Hobbies and things like that. And that it was actually just very organic because I have an amazing client who is very successful. She's had me on her podcast several times. And so as people listen to her podcast and hear about me, they come to me. So that's been very organic. I also love, I'm a serial hobbyist. So that fits just my personality quite well. But I worked with people in all different industries as well, like pet businesses, podcasting, like business related businesses. Yeah, now I'm kind of blank, but basically just like, the gamut. Yeah.
And what would you have to say? Because I know some people might go, oh gosh, I feel like this market is saturated, because they start doing research. And of course, then the algorithm starts feeding them ads for everything that's like what they're doing. What would you say to that person who might think that?
So I think that a couple of things. Maybe the cliche that we've heard is like, there's room for everybody because you're a unique person and nobody's going to deliver it in the way that you are. I do think there's some truth to that, but I do think you have to be very strategic and intentional about it and looking at the market and like, what can you do that differentiates yourself, and really looking at yourself and what your special gifts and talents are that you can present to the world. But I think that, again, doing this high touch, I don't think there's enough of that out there. And for people who are really authentically looking at helping their students get results. And as long as you care, I used to say this to teachers that I worked with all the time, because we get this message as teachers, you're supposed to just care about everything about the students. And we see these movies about these inspirational, life transforming teachers. You have to care about their education. That's what's really important as any kind of educator. And so if you are somebody who really cares about getting your students results, that is going to differentiate you, and that is going to make you stand out. And I think that everybody is interested in finding a program that helps them improve their life. And they come out of it differently than they went into it. And whether that's like having a hobby that they love that gives them some like me time and some ability to separate themselves from the stress of their life, or it comes out, that they have a new skill that can help provide finances for their family, whatever it is, or, helps their relationship people are looking for something that's going to help them improve their lives. So if you really care about your students and you're willing to create a course that is going to help them authentically achieve that result, then I think there's always space for that.
Yeah. Thank you. I love that. I agree, because I think sometimes, especially if you're in an industry, you get caught up in, oh, but somebody else has this course, somebody else teaches this. But to your point, and I just had a meeting with one of my grad students right before this to talk about her capstone project. And I was giving her the same advice. I'm like, oh yeah, take that for myself too.
It's true. And I mean, someone I know always says like books and restaurants is a perfect example. If there's a new restaurant that comes into your town, are you, and it's a great restaurant, are you not going to go to it because there's already 200 restaurants in your town? No, you're going to be interested in that new restaurant that has an amazing menu. If a new book or a new movie comes out, are you going to ignore it because you've already read a book, you've already watched a movie? No, we keep having these things introduced to us because we are interested in consuming it. So I would just focus on, what is it about you? What are your special gifts and talents that make you unique that you can put into your course? So don't take courses from people to do the cookie cutter course, because that's not going to help you set yourself apart and differentiate yourself, and focus on the quality and the transformation that you're going to help your students get. And not the transformation you're going to promise, but the transformation that you're actually going to help them achieve.
Yeah, that is definitely a difference.
Yeah, they're connected, but they're not the same thing.
Exactly. One thing I also want to talk about is the promotion aspect, because you did say that it's really when you are authentic and somebody gets to complete your course, then you have people who give you rave reviews, they give you testimonials, they refer people to you organically. You can also use that, of course, as part of your sales messaging. And then you also talked about affiliates. So would you say that affiliates are really important things? I am in a couple of affiliate groups just to learn about people's courses and what they're doing and see how we can help each other or not. Yeah. And I think, some people know about that world, some people don't, but do you use affiliates, and what does it take to find the right people and make sure that you're engaging your affiliates?
Yeah, that's a huge topic, and I'm not an expert, but I'll tell you what I have seen and experienced from both my perspective and my client's perspective. So right now my business is working on referrals, but I am going to start offering affiliate programs as part of my business, because I have seen through my clients that they work really, really well, because people who have gone through your course and can speak about you firsthand are going to be able to sell your course way better than you can, because you're promising the transformation. They have experienced the transformation. And that's the biggest difference in the messaging. So it goes beyond kind of like the social proof of a testimonial. So that's if people have taken your course, because there's lots of different affiliate programs, right? Like many people, Amazon or, other people in the online space just say, sign up to be an affiliate and you can make, money, certain percentage for every sale that you make. I think the most successful ways that, again, align with my brand and my authenticity and what I'm trying to achieve comes from people who have firsthand knowledge of your course or have worked with you. So, I would consider someone to be an affiliate if I've worked one-on-one with them, even if they haven't taken my course, because they know what it is I teach and what I stand for and that kind of a thing. So I think that they have to be familiar with you and what you're selling in your product, because you want them to speak to the transformation that you can help your students achieve. So I've seen people who do like an application process to be an affiliate. So you actually have to apply and be approved. And then they'll even do like a training program to help people with the messaging. Because I have seen it go wrong before also, where people will hire an affiliate, or I don't know if hire is the right word, but, engage with someone who's going to be an affiliate to their program. And then the affiliate goes out and knowingly or unknowingly starts giving messaging that is contrary to the messaging of the person. Like I wouldn't want an affiliate of mine to go out and be like, take this course and you can get rich on passive income from creating an online course. That would be my worst nightmare if an affiliate of mine was going out with that messaging. So you really, I think, do need to be careful, because I believe that affiliates are also ambassadors of your brand. And so you want to make sure that they are representing you in the best light possible.
Yeah. That is all really great information, because I honestly do believe everybody at some point who is an entrepreneur will think about what course do they want to create or what course do they want to take. And if they don't see it, then they're going to want to create it. So, and you talked about you are on Instagram,
Yes.
Shannon L. Boyer, and you put hints there, right? And then you also have your website.
Yes.
And I believe, and I actually just, I think, clicked to get the download, but you have a freebie checklist.
Yes. Yeah. So it's 7 things your online course must include to max student referrals.
Ooh.
So really what this is the 7 components of a high quality course. And so it is a guide and a checklist as well. So there's a lot of great information in there, and it just kind of gives you a little hint of what I teach and what I do with my clients. But it's a great resource in and of itself. And then there's also a link there for the Sip and Share Wednesdays. If anybody is interested in coming, you're more than welcome. If you are somebody who has a course, or even you're thinking about creating a course and you want to serve your students in a way that gets them results, you're more than welcome just to pop in and see what the conversation's like.
Nice. And then you mentioned that there are different ways to work with you. You're rolling out some new offerings. Is it expensive to work with somebody to create a course? And I know that that's not a great word because people have to range the budget.
I am not currently doing high ticket sales. So my pricing is very much in line with my values and my beliefs. I am not trying to be a millionaire. I am trying to help people showcase their expertise in the best light possible. And so I want to make those resources available to them and at the same time support my family.
Yes. Yeah.
So I would consider myself very intentionally middle road.
Yeah. Nice. And if somebody wants to learn more, they can, of course, go to your website, reach out,
Absolutely.
have a conversation.
Yeah, and I'm more than willing to have a free discovery call with anyone just to talk about what it is, what you're looking for, and what I might offer. I don't do it as a sales call. It really is just an honest conversation to see if there's mutual benefit there, and if I can help you, and if you are looking for the kind of services that I provide.
Yeah. Okay, I always like to ask if you have a favorite quote, mantra, words of wisdom that you would like to leave us with.
Yeah. I don't know if I would call it my favorite quote, but I think one of the ones that kind of encapsulates what we've been talking about today is that education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. And so that's William Butler Yeats who said that. And it's just that's what we want to do is we do not want to create a course that just gives content, shoves content at your student, right? You're not trying to fill them with content. What you want to do is really ignite that spark and be the first step towards the eventual transformation, be that important point on the journey that is their life and hopefully the path to a better life. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Shannon, thank you so much for sharing so much about your journey and also really, really great information for anybody who is thinking about course creation or has a course and wants to fine-tune it.
Yes. Thank you so much for this opportunity and the great questions. It's been an amazing experience.
Oh, well, I've really enjoyed it. And I want to thank everybody who's watching or listening to this episode as well. I'll be back again with another amazing guest tomorrow to share their expertise and help you get a little bit better at your journey. Want more? Check out amplifywithannika.com or follow me on socials at amplifywithannika.